It seems like a lot of the draft discussion around Houston freshman Terrance Arceneaux has been of him as a 3-and-D wing of sorts, but I definitely think that's underselling his capabilities, especially on defense, as Arceneaux to me profiles like a scheme-defining wing defender, a guy who you can build what your defense does around him and his tools, or at least in part. And I'm going to try to explain why here. His ground coverage and activity level is just ridiculous. Like, he does so much on every possession because of his ground coverage, just general abilities. He's able to front the post here and deny an entry on this high-low. And then he moves to like a first tagger, stopping that pass with like a really long rotation. And then he makes another rotation back to this pass and another rotation, but he can't, unfortunately can't stop. But point being, like, he does so much on this possession to help his Houston teammates. And his presence as a rotational defender allows Houston to double and trap really aggressively on these pick and rolls because Arceneaux is there early to take away this first read. Often, this would be the quick outlet if the defense is blitzing pick and roll, but because Arceneaux is there instantly, his instincts, his ground coverage with his speed and length, the awareness, it's all really special. And of course, Arceneaux is able to get back and make multiple other rotations, even if he's not able to contest. I mean, given he is only 6'5", that's kind of an issue because he's not like the secondary rim protector, or at least not to the extent that you'd want him to be. But that's like, probably made up by his crazy off-ball instincts. This is very Jimmy Butler-esque, very Mikal Bridges-esque, Devin Vassell. Like, the long ground coverage is crazy. Where this, like, a lot of players, like, if you're not reading the rotations and the help, like this looks free. And see, as I talked about, Houston's pressure pushing this guard out so high is functional. It works because Arceneaux can make these kind of insane, instinctual long rotations that are crazy highlights, but also are like a foundational part of how this team guards pick and roll and how his team plays defense. And he's making these plays all the time. Very much helped by guys like Jarris Walker, like another future lottery pick, who is just like such a crazy good mover as well off the ball and really fast. But again, Arceneaux is someone who, if you're trying to find a cut, he will rotate down from the weak corner, knowing that this guy is not as much of a threat and he can nab a steal with his length and his instincts. And again, we see another example here of Arceneaux's pick and roll defense, or as a weak side defender. This one is less like shot out of a cannon than the last one, but still, like, Will Richardson really isn't even like thinking about Terrance Arceneaux lurking right here, because he's always willing to take this risk to tag the roll. Obviously, this is a risk because if Richardson recognizes this, then that's an easy pass to the corner for a wide open three or a drive. But because of how fast Arceneaux is and how like perfectly timed his reactions are, he can instantly kind of snap that pass with his length and get a deflection. It's really, really special, like, off-ball defense, which is just very much my jam, and I love like crazy off-ball defenders. They're just my favorite. They're some of my favorite things ever. He is a guy who allows you to apply pressure in other ways than pick and roll stuff. Like, Houston will double a lot, like especially when you have a dominant big man like Dante. And Arceneaux can just be a guy who sits in the paint and covers everything. Like, look how many cutters Oregon sends at Arceneaux throughout this possession, and his teammates end up fouling Dante, but there are no passing options. Like, he sinks hard here, and he then covers low while also covering both cuts. Like, he is a guy who allows you to play these schemes, and his instincts translate that way. What is this, and why are you here? Oh, right. I think like a cool heuristic that I like for like evaluating wing defenders is just like the right place, right time thing, where these guys who are constantly making, anticipatory rotations and working towards space and trying to cut off areas of the court are often just like in the right place at the right time a lot to make steals and get plays. Like, Arceneaux doesn't touch this ball. And And like he is like not responsible for this deflection or applying any pressure, but because he was early trying for that rotation, I mean, who knows if it would have been a steal or not, if the pass was on target. But because he was in the right place, anticipating where the ball was going rather than like reacting to it, he's able to get a lot of these plays where he's just like in the right place at the right time, and like seemingly gets lucky, but it's not really luck. The way that like you're gonna have to beat him is to put him on the ball. His biggest like defensive weakness is definitely his like on ball movement. I think, aside from whatever secondary rim protection stuff he can end up contributing in that role. Like his hips just turn very slowly. This is very, very poor hip mobility. But like he's not very good in these kind of situations where he's working as like a secondary closeout defender. That's why Houston has him being like the guy who makes primary rotation, so he doesn't have to deal with as much as this stuff. Like he's an okay mover on the ball, but I think it's more than made up for by his off ball defense, which is just so crazy. Obviously, very early in the season, but a crazy 5 steal rate, as well as just like 15 threes per 100 is insane. And I talk about how important volume is all the time. If we look at guys, we have to drop the filters a lot. This is guys or players with greater than 12 threes per 100 and a 3 steal rate. And you have like Steph Curry and who other drafted guys. You have Steph Curry, you have Donovan Mitchell, Bones Highland more recently. Just a bunch of like very good players. Even like Gary Harris, KCP, all have have been useful players. Jared Butler, hope he ends up being a good player one day. But arceneaux is just such a special wing defender, or at least that's how it looks to me. And I'm very excited to watch him grow and see how much more he can do on offense. And this Houston team is just sick.